Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. XRP ETF passes and smashes the first day of a Bitcoin ETF. You don't hear anybody talking about it, but we're going to prove it to you. XRP ETF schedule. And how about the White House talking about the U.S. strategic and digital asset stockpile reserves? How about somebody roll that beautiful intro?
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.34 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 1.2%. Bitcoin, 95,900 plus. Ethereum, 3,100 plus. Number 4 spot, XRP at 226 here. Now, we're off 0.2 on the 24, even though it feels like a lot more. And we're off 1.5 on the 7-day. Looking at the range of price ranging between 226 and 235, we have no choice but to keep an eye on it. Happy Saturday morning. Let's look at something fun. Oh my gosh almighty. You know, just not long ago, I was on that white, silky, sandy beach and I was in that beautiful blue-green water. And it is absolutely more beautiful in person than it is in this picture. And it is quite beautiful in this picture. I can almost smell the ocean air. I'm telling you, your chance to own a property down here at the Panhandle of Florida off of the Gulf of America, all you got to do is go to the Gulf of America XRP.com or click the link underneath the video and start seeing your way and your family's way to some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And the people are so wonderful there. The food is incredible. You won't believe it. It is just a little paradise. And I tell you, they call it the Redneck Riviera down there, in fact. And I tell you what, it's the only place you can go in the continental U.S. and get that Caribbean blue-green water and those white, silky, sandy beaches. It's all true. And you could get a little teeny one-bedroom condo starting in the lower 300s. And you and your family are down there. And if you wanted to, you could turn around and say, you know what, I want to sublet it. Realty Mark will help you accomplish your goals. So whether you're looking to like have a place just for your family or whether you're looking to sublet it and do something like that or just rent it out in general and make money, right? I mean, they can help you with any plan that you want. Just go to Gulf of America, XRP.com, click the link underneath the video, ask for Daniel, call or text him, and get started today. You won't believe it. There's so many people down there right now shopping for property. It's incredible. And I'm going to be one very soon. Elon Musk claims X money will come out soon. Well, Elon, we can't wait. And we'd love to know if the XRP ledger is going to help out on the backside. Just let us know. Eric Trump says, stay out of crypto if you can't handle the volatility. Well said by Eric Trump. Let's hear him say it.
You know, if you can't handle volatility, stay out of cryptocurrency and don't bother. But, go into treasuries where you're going to have zero volatility and you're going to click away at, 3% returns. Go have a great time doing that. And I'll see you in 10 years.
Look, I mean, one of the strategies that I have in place that I've actually exercised a little bit of already is taking some gains in crypto and then putting them over into something very low risk like US treasuries, right? Just explaining some of the strategies of moving some of your gains from a high risk area of investment to a more low risk investment, right? Real wealth is when you can get the low risk investment to outpace your high risk assets and what you can earn in a year. And when you've done that, that pretty much is the definition of wealth. Nonetheless, I'm not there yet, so we can go ahead and park that car for today. but I do get what Eric's saying. There is a huge runway for innovation and growth in this space, right? And it's just about which ones will be the winners. And meanwhile, breaking, Wells Fargo has just purchased $383 million worth of Bitcoin. So I'm pretty sure they see that as a winner, right? That's the verdict on that one right there. I remember somebody saying banks aren't going to mess with crypto. It's like, that's not true. And here is SEC Chair Atkins. We're moving all stocks on chain is basically what he's saying here. And it feels good to hear him say it.
had. But basically, unfortunately, for the last several years now, the industry has been operating in a fog. They couldn't really figure out what the SEC was looking for and how this new technology could be accommodated within the ancient rules that applied to paper filings and paper stock certificates and that sort of thing. We're talking about now, digital assets and that sort of thing on chain. So what we need to do is...
There it is. Talking about digital assets and digital asset versions of stocks on chain. We are moving all stocks on chain. That's what this is. And just like Jimmy Valley says, shout out to Jimmy, this was always nirvana. That's exactly right. And whether people want to admit it or not, it's the larger part of the pie. So there's a crypto slice of a pie, and the rest of the pie is all of traditional finance. Now, I'm looking for the cryptos in particular that can help tokenize the rest of the pie, right? And everybody's got to figure that out for themselves. But yesterday, a good piece of pie got picked up with Canary Capital's new XRP ETF hitting breaking record volume, and it's bigger than they've even told you about. Breaking record, over 900 plus ETFs in 2025. Canary Capital's new XRP ETF shattered the inflows at $245 million, and we'll prove it to you. The companies that are launching next are in line. XRP ETFs have trillions in assets under management combined. That's exactly right with all of these companies. Shout out to XRP Crypto Wolf. And Bitwise should be up next. And we'll see what comes here. But let's take a look at this, because the XRP market is entering a major phase of institutional adoption, with 9 XRP ETFs scheduled to launch between November 18th and November 25th. So that is pretty encouraging here over the next week, right? So let's just look at the list here. Just running down here, you got Franklin Templeton November 18th. Then they say Bitwise to follow on the 20th. 21 shares and CoinShares added in international reach on November 21st and 22nd. Grayscale Wisdom Tree close out the month on November 25th. And then they see here by November 26th, a total of 7 XRP ETFs will be trading, with analysts expecting a combined daily volume to reach 150 million to 200 million. How about that? Whoa. Okay. Now that's interesting. Now, with all of that, now that's a lot that's going to roll out in the next week or so here. So now let's move to here, because this came in from Baron of Beach Street, the legend, the official legend of the Digital Asset Investor channel. Yes, shout out to the GOAT and shout out to the legend, Sean, the Baron of Beach Street. Congrats to Canary Funds on record-breaking day one ETF of 2025. It outperformed Bitwise's BSOL fund, but also pound for pound, day one to day one, it also outperformed BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF on inflows. Isn't that interesting? He says we had 245 million for Canary's XRP ETF on day one. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF did 111.7 million. Well, I was like, well, now wait a minute. Now he sent me this and I saw it, and then I said, well, obviously I've got to check it and verify, but we know that we don't really have to verify Baron of Beach Street, because Sean is amazing, and I knew it, but I did it just because you do, right? And here it is. Grok confirms it. Now, how come we haven't heard James Seifert or Eric Balkunas announce this? How come people aren't talking about this? BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF first day got crushed by Canary Capital's XRP ETF first day by more than double the size of inflows. Now, credit goes to Baron of Beach Street. Prepare for maximum XRP FUD from the Bitcoin Maxi camp. Their fear has been validated. Let's understand that collectively. And here we see Tony Edwards, Thinking Crypto, sits down with Patrick Witt, the White House executive council director for crypto. I'm saying his position wrong, but we know he works just under David Sachs, reports to Trump and David Sachs. Let's hear this clip about when we could see a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital stockpile.
A big topic that folks are very curious about is the big strategic Bitcoin reserve. What can you tell us there as far as the process of identifying revenue sources to buy and set up that?
Yeah, so, kind of two parts to it. Number one, we got to get the custody and kind of the safeguarding of the existing assets right with those that have been seized, the different seizing agencies. Make sure that they can centralize those over at the Treasury, put in place appropriate cybersecurity protocols to ensure that those assets are safely kept. And then second, having discussions with different agencies about creative ways that we can, in a budget neutral fashion, add Bitcoin and other digital assets potentially to the balance sheet. So my other hat over at the Department of War is as the acting director of the Office of Strategic Capital. That's a large federal credit program with $200 billion balance sheet. There's interesting ideas that are being kicked around about ways that you could potentially overcapitalize some of the loans that the government is making, because we want digital assets on the government balance sheet. We also want them in the hands of everyday Americans.
A big topic.
I think the biggest way to do that and the quickest, most profit-generating way to get the digital assets in the U.S. government strategic reserve and digital asset stockpile, as well as in the hands of everyday Americans, as Patrick J. Witt said, is to issue U.S. digital asset bonds for Bitcoin, XRP, ADA, Solana, and others. Those were certainly mentioned by President Trump early in his presidency. This allows the U.S. government to gather some of the most important digital assets in the reserves while profit sharing in the bond issuance with its citizens. This will also create a great wave of American patriotism that allows everyday Americans to profit alongside their government by profit sharing in the building of the fourth industrial revolution, known as the Golden Age. Americans hold U.S. digital asset bonds and earn 3 to 5%, just putting a bond rate on it, for example. U.S. government gathers the most important digital assets to the new financial system and becomes wealthier than this nation has ever been without costing the U.S. taxpayer a dime. That's where we're at. Now, think about all the ETFs getting ready to launch in just over the next 7 days, right? 7 of them over the next 7 or 10 days. That's what we're getting ready to see. That's huge. That's hugely exciting. But then we have to remember there's other factors going on too. Remember, once we get the market infrastructure bill, you're going to see entities like G Treasury that Ripple has purchased and Hidden Road and other entities that are not even a part of Ripple, I believe, begin to have access to settle, like G Treasury does 12.5 trillion in payments volume a year. Well, real soon, that's all going to be RLUSD and a mix of XRP for clearing and settlement. That's where this is going. I mean, they're not doing all of this so they can not use new payment rails. What are the new payment rails and protocols? The XRP ledger, for goodness sakes. I'm not saying they won't use others. It's a multi-chain world. We all get it. That's why there's interoperability between the ILP and the ledger that allows all ledgers to connect and talk together, just like TCP/IP, right? That's what we're talking about. And if you do get that kind of demand between the launch of all of these ETFs and more to come, and then you do get a U.S. digital asset bond issuance, which all of this takes the asset off of the market to back those products. They have to go into a qualified custodian with the underlying asset. And then you add in the Clarity Act and all of this utility that will be driven onto the network every day. And I'm not saying it's on day one. I'm saying it's all over time, right? But that's what's happening. And then you have the competition every day for the products that have to buy it when they sell a share of something, whether it's a bond or an ETF, and they've got to put it in a qualified custodian versus the demand to settle payment volumes in the tune of 15 plus trillion just between Hidden Road and G Treasury. Let alone the $120 trillion market that G Treasury's tapped into. So This is what has me so excited. It is going to be so fun to watch this unfold in real time and see just how much of this adoption actually takes place and how quickly it does. It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. We're going into the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. And today you will want to join us in the Freedom Zone. You can go to Patreon, click the link underneath the video and join us in Patreon. We're going to talk about the holdovers in the different government agencies and what they're doing to try to stall the plan to get America back on track to not only be the strongest we've ever been, but the healthiest too. We're going in right now. Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. Come on in.